Okay, for the second part of the show, is determining the percent of each number not mentally, but rather using a calculator. So the first one, A, is 160% of $53.27. The reason why we probably wouldn't use mental math for this is because we're going to have a lot of pennies going on here, and it's probably easier just to use a calculator because you're not going to be able to get the answer as quick. So the first thing we have to figure out is what is 160% as a decimal. So 160% as a fraction would be 160 out of 100, which is an improper fraction. As a mixed fraction, it would be 1 and 60 hundredths, which is 1 and 60 hundredths, which would be 1 and 60 hundredths. Now, if you want that insignificant zero there, it's not a needed one. You can have 1 and 6 tenths as well, and that's what we'll use. So 160% as a decimal is this of, as we've learned last year and all of this year, we can think of it as being multiplication. So really, to a calculator, 160% of 5327 would be 1.6 times 5327. So if I take my calculator and go 1.6 multiplied by 5327, I get $85.232. So in terms of money, it's $85.23. This one here is actually 2/10 of a cent. Right? It's not quite a cent, which means if we're rounding it, it's approximately equal to $85.23. Okay, that's the first question. The second question, which I'll erase this stuff here, is what is 3/4% of 135? This is not money, it's just 135, whatever. So 3/4%. So I know that this is less than 1%. 3/4% is less than 1%. And again, if you have a fraction in your percentage, it's usually easiest to change that to a decimal. So 3/4 is one of those fractions that we know as a decimal. It's decimal 75. So this is still less than 1%. So 3/4% is decimal 75 as a fraction. That's what decimal 75% would be. Again, I have my denominator as being a base 10, which is readable. If I think about how do I get rid of that decimal, I have to multiply by 100 because I have to multiply, or I have to move the decimal 2 places. I get 75, and then I multiply this by 100, I get my 10,000. That is 75 10,000ths. I need to know my place value. This is your tenths. This is your, oh, hello. This is your hundredths. This is your thousandths. This is your 10,000ths position. So I have 75 10,000. So remember, your 75 has to end in whatever position your denominator is. So 75 10,000ths. Put my zeros down. That's what it is as a decimal. Okay, so we have 0.075. That's what that is as a percentage of 135. Take your calculator out. Decimal 0.075 multiplied by 135 gives you 1.0125. Now we're not dealing with money, so we're not actually going to round it because it's not a money question. So that's our answer. It's going to be 1 and 125 10,000ths is 3/4% of 135. And the last question in the show, is what is 55 8/10% of 500? So again, I want to make sure that this is written first as a decimal. So 55 8/10% would be 55 and 8/10%. That would be as a decimal. I'm going to just do a quick show you your pattern of thinking. 55.8% would be 558 over 1,000. That's an equivalent fraction with no decimal in the numerator, which is 0.558. So 55 1/8% of 500 is a calculation. Decimal 500 5/8 times 500. Again, we're not dealing with money, but it's exactly 279. Okay? And that's how you use a calculator to calculate percentages of numbers.